in coaching, there is a saying. So when I started going through my ICF training, because I'm pursuing an ICF certification, so we assume that all the answers, everything we need for our life to show up and do what we're born to do, what we're destined to do, everything is already in here. So with that, trust, and that's another thing. It's learning to trust that intuition. That's a process. That's not easy. Not a lot of people trust themselves. And it's because we're not accustomed to coming from the inside. We're accustomed to judging, trying to conform to an outside perspective of what's considered perfect or what's considered top of the game, or you're doing the right things. But when we start spending more time in self-reflection, and we start spending more time with the inner life that we have, certain truths become known. Like, what's true for me? What's true for me is that I believe that a culture can be inclusive, which means that everyone matters. Everyone knows how to lean into the challenges. And so long as trust is there, we can move through any challenge and work through the problems together, because we trust each other. We trust that you have the best intentions and I have the best intentions, and we're going to work through this. That's trust. The minute somebody starts slinging mud or saying things that are just wrong or mean or just downright nasty, like that right there is not it's not helpful. It does nothing to solve any kind of problems. It just makes problems worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the books that I've always really loved, it's like, kind of a consistent read for what I do. It's called The Speed of Trust by Stephen M. Or it's by the son of Stephen Covey, right? Or Stephen R. Covey, Stephen M. R. Covey. And I remember picking it up one day, and it's, Speed of Trust, right? And I was like, it's an interesting title. You start perusing through the book, and I felt like I couldn't really put it down. And it was so moving in a sense that I realize now, or, at the time I was kind of in the early stages of Free Fuse as a whole. And I realized like how important it was to build, a lot of those good relationships, but more importantly, to build the culture of trust. Like we can all trust each other. We all know that, we all know we have like, our best interests built into what we're trying to do. And I felt like, as an early stage organization, it was so important to have that, because I have, countless founder stories of folks who their organization was great, the idea was great, the people couldn't trust each other, and it went under, right? And so, I mean, or some of it was, folks would just leave, and now there's like, this aspect of people not being able to talk to each other or trust each other. And it's not to say that we haven't had, our own, issues with folks who come in and things like that, because sometimes people just aren't good fits. But I've always felt like the first thing to do is to grant, an element of trust to folks, and trust that they're going to be able to get whatever work that we've, asked them to, sort of commit to done, right? And then I feel trust is kind of like this two-way street of not only just giving your trust that someone can accomplish something, but also the other person providing you with their trust that you're not just going to take what they do for granted, take advantage of whatever efforts and work that they're doing. And I feel like allowing everyone to feel like we're all moving in the same direction together really instills that level of trust. And, I feel like it's an underrated part of what people do. And I've seen more kind of like in, shall we say, toxic cultures where you have like somebody who has to micromanage everything that you do because they clearly don't trust that you're getting your job done.